Hi guys, welcome to the info session for the Stella Bootcamp. This session is, like I said before, is going to be recorded, but that's just to say that whenever there is, when we start the presentation, if you do have any questions, feel free to note them down, and then there'll be like a dedicated time to respond to the questions. Also, feel free to make use of the chat box. You can maybe write on the chat box to let us know where you're joining from, if that helps. But yes, we'll just get right into it while I also try to admit more people into the room. So my name is Gift, and this is the Stellar Startup Info Session for teams that are joining from the South, North, and Central America regions. We've had two previous interesting info sessions where we had teams from the Asia and Pacific region, and then Europe, Middle East, and Africa regions. The idea behind this info session is to provide intending teams that are looking at joining the bootcamp to provide you guys with the relevant information required to help you prepare your applications and also give you a sense of what to expect. But also, we've invited past bootcamp participants, and I see Bralio has joined the call. They would share, what their experience has been like just participating in the bootcamp, and also provide tips that can help you maximize the bootcamp. So welcome once again. The bootcamp is in collaboration with the Stellar Community Fund, which is managed by the Stellar Development Foundation. Anka would come up to talk a bit more about the foundation and the amazing work that they're doing. But I work with DFS Lab, and we are an early stage investor that are supporting the most exciting startups building the digital economy in Africa. Aside our investment practice, we also have an active research and consulting arm that gives room for us to work with clients like the Stellar Development Foundation to implement innovation bootcamps such as this. So I give it over to Anka now to talk a bit more about the Stellar Development Foundation and the Stellar Community Fund as well. Over to you, Anka.
Yeah, perfect. Well, thank you, Gift, for that wonderful introduction. Yes, we have indeed been working with the DFS Lab for several boot camps now, and it's been a wonderful experience. And so a bit about SDF. So my name is Anke Liu. I'm the senior program manager at the Stellar Development Foundation, and SDF, which is the abbreviation, is a nonprofit founded in 2014 to support the development and growth of the open source Stellar network. And since recently, we've also launched a new native smart contracts platform called Sorbonne, which makes the opportunities to build on Stellar and almost infinite, right? And so I'm part of the Stellar Community Fund, and SCF, another abbreviation, is an open application award program really meant to boost development for both developer teams, developers, and startups to build on these powerful technologies, Stellar and Sorbonne. So we manage, as the SDF, we manage the Stellar Community Fund, but it also really relies on community input, hence the community mentioned in SCF, for award allocation, feedback for projects, structured discussion, and voting, and many more. So actually, we've been around since 2016, almost ancient in the space, I would say. We have been awarding over 210 million XLM, which is Stellar's native currency, to over 415 award recipients. And as I mentioned, we have been doing this for a few times now with the FSA, which is awesome. We've been able to support over 50 bootcamp participants so far. And we have a vibrant community of Stellar enthusiasts, builders, developers, entrepreneurs that are currently all reside on the Stellar Developers Discord. Yeah, and we actually, if you go to the next slide, we have two key sub-programs. So we have both awards, and we have the Startup Camp, which is what we'll be speaking about today. And so the SCF Awards are actually our main sub-program, which is where every 4 weeks, developers and startups request funding up to $150,000 worth of XLM to accelerate development. And these projects are around for around 3 months, and to build on Stellar and Sorbonne. So it's a unique opportunity. Its submission deadlines are open all the time. But obviously, it's not easy to fill out an application and to know already what you want to build. So that's why on the other side of the coin, we have SCF Startup Camp that really helps to onboard developer teams and startups to go from idea stage to MVP, to a user-tested prototype in a matter of days. It's a really wonderful experience, and we'll have some awesome speakers sharing more information on that today. But okay, I guess we're going into this. So actually, we have decided to do this as part of the fund, do it quarterly. So that means 4 times every year. So this year we're scheduled to do 3 because we're starting in the second quarter of 2023. It's totally virtual. It will happen on 3 different time zones: Asia Pacific, Europe, Middle East, and Africa, and North, Central, and South America. So that is kind of very special. Many different boot camps, so they only happen on 1 time zone. We happen on all 3 because our community is global, and it's in a matter of days. And really important to mention here also is that we have tons of members and the mentors, and the mentor list is growing as well, from mentors from the Stellar Development Foundation, the DFS Lab, and also the broader Stellar ecosystem, and really beyond. We have a lot of outside Web3 entrepreneurs also speaking and supporting people building on the chain. So next dates, the important dates to know are April 17th to the 21st. These are the bootcamp days. There will also be, for the top 10 finalists, there will be a investor demo day, which is on April 26th. So very exciting opportunity for people to present. And obviously the application deadline is March 28th, which is coming up. So definitely these info sessions will definitely tell you everything about it, so you can apply and sign up. All right, over to you, Gift.
Thank you, Anka. Just to say that for us at the startup camp, right, we adopt a design sprint model approach that gives room for teams to build, to take the ideas really from ground zero to actually a user-tested prototype. And the whole idea, and I'm sure you're going to be hearing from past bootcamp participants shortly on how that experience was for them. But the whole idea is to commit those 4 to 5 days to just committing to the design sprint activities, to the mentorship that Anka mentioned, and then also putting a teamwork practice where you get to also work with your team members to imagine what the future is like when you eventually get your products out to market. So we'll go right into the fireside chat with our past bootcamp participants, where they're going to be sharing their experience. Brello and Chris, thank you so much for joining. I see, Chris, your video is on. Brello, if you can, feel free to turn on your videos as well, and then we'll just kickstart into the process. So while we wait for Brello, let's start out with introductions. So Chris, tell us a bit more about yourself, what you're building at Funbuck, and yes.
Sure, I'm Christophus. I'm the co-founder and CEO of PhoneBank. And what we've created is a suite of on and off ramp solutions to and from Web3, targeting mobile first cash-based economies. And what's unique about us is we use prepaid airtime as that medium of exchange. So imagine, if M-Pesa and Uniswap had a baby, that would be PhoneBank. And we're designed for the sort of Web3 age. We have this series of dApps that allow sort of easy on-ramping and integration with our platform. And so we participated in the DFS Labs program. Our primary markets are across sub-Saharan Africa, Nigeria being our biggest market, but Kenya, Uganda, Ghana, South Africa, et cetera. And what makes us unique is that we can provide sort of value transfer in and out of Web3 or the Stellar ecosystem without any type of regulatory sort of process, because we deal in prepaid airtime as that medium of exchange. And so if you have a app or DApp or application where you need to monetize or pay users in micro payments for digital goods and services, we have sort of that ideal solution for you. And building it on Stellar provided us this great scale and community that I think is has been an amazing experience for us in the past year being a partner with them. Thank you, Gift.
Thank you so much, Christian. Brello, please can you also introduce yourself to us and tell us a bit more about what you do at Cash Abroad?
Of course. My name is Braulio. I'm the CTO and co-founder of Cash Abroad. Cash Abroad is a platform for B2B cross-border payments. And we think that Cash Abroad is in a position to be the first smart network to leverage the liquidity of B2B payments and family remittance to fund public goods, such as community projects, community centers, schools, and infrastructure. We are actually right now focused on Soroban technology to enable a smart contract that allow us to distribute a small percentage fee for each transactions and fund with this the public goods. We are working in this platform, and right now we are integrating with all the anchors on Stellar, also using the USDC as stable coin in the middle for all the transactions. And I'm super glad to be here today with you.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. So let's get right into it. And perhaps we will start with Christian as well. Could you share with us what your experience was like, just participating in the bootcamp?
First, I'd say it was intensive, like drinking from a fire hose, but in the best possible way. One, we met some great, fantastic people that were very engaged in not just our project, but in helping us sort of complete the program in a very sort of hands-on way. So much so that we ended up we developed such a rapport that we ended up joining forces with our mentor, who became a co-founder and a key contributor to PhoneBank today. And it also, through the experience with the program in helping us sort of learn about Stellar and the ecosystem, we utilize that where we are now a marketing partner and received a grant above and beyond our award from completing the program. And I'm especially now with this new DeFi type solutions, really excited about the future. And I'll add this additionally. I wouldn't underestimate the importance of the high touch experience that you receive from Stellar, whether it's events like this or meeting them in person on a global basis, but also the continual outreach and friendliness or accessibility of the community. I think is really key, and it's one of the reasons why we're a big supporter and fan of the ecosystem, and in addition to their fantastic sort of product roadmap.
Thank you so much, Christian. Over to you, Braulio. Could you also share with us what your bootcamp experience was like?
Yeah, of course. So our bootcamp experience was great. We learned a lot, and it helped us to explore new concepts and ideas. In our day-to-day, we are already working through our roadmap and the milestones that we have, and we don't have a lot of chance to explore new perspectives and new markets. So at the moment when we joined the bootcamp, we were focused on only on family remittance, but having had the chance to explore the B2B market and some specific features of the B2B market, which were the automatic payments and the batch payments. So the bootcamp allow us to make a deep dive on the subject, knowing the customer, knowing the market, and crystallize all this experience in the mock-ups. So we refocus our team during this week to just work on the bootcamp, and we learned a lot, to be honest, as not just was, as Chris said, the people, the community. We met with some companies in Latin America and Mexico and other countries, Lebanon, from that we already have some friendship with them, that we are working towards same or common goals, but also learn about new markets, exports, imports, all the things regarding a multinational company paying subsidiaries and real estate. So, and we saw how this automatic payment and batch payment was something they needed and they needed to improve. So since then, to be honest, we haven't let go this broader perspective, and it's already in our philosophy and how we are thinking in the future of Cash Abroad. So it was a great experience. We also have a lot of guidance from Anke during the process, from you, Give, from Jake, with all the concept and the tools, from the journey maps, heat maps, to the also users interviews, and how that help us to make a faster pipeline to deploy and test products. So overall, I think it was super fun and also a great experience to learn and grow as a team.
Thank you. So interesting to see and to hear that, the feedbacks from both Chris and Berlio, are alike, because one of the things we try to, share for the bootcamp is that if you come to participate in bootcamp and you actually commit yourself to learning, there's so much you can get out of it, from meeting other community members to meeting mentors to even just passing through, the day-to-day activities. And we'll get to that shortly, where you get to have a sense of the kind of activities that, Brello just mentioned, the heat maps, the mapping, and all of that stuff. So before we wrap up this session, we have just one last question to ask our speakers, and it's really just around if you could share like the top 3 tips for intending teams that are looking at joining the bootcamp. What would be your top 3 tips, and what should they do to make the most out of the bootcamp? Brother, you can go first, Chris. Anyone of you.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Bro. I'm happy to go. I think, number one, be prepared. It is a bit of a, as my father used to share with me, it's like, you want to build a brick house, right? And the boot camp is not necessarily designed for you to like just come in with no idea or anything like that. You obviously have to apply and have sort of a game plan in place. And so the more prepared you are going in, the sort of better results you'll have coming out. And so that's from a product technical standpoint. And then I might add around relationships, like have in mind, like who are the type of partnerships, who are the sort of resources you might need from Stellar or the community to make it happen. And what I'd say is, like, broadly, there will be a group of, whether it's from the SDF, partners, mentors that will that will be made available to you. Heck, they'll even, if you're not, if the resource is not there, they'll find one to help you out, which I thought was pretty amazing. And then finally, you know, get some sleep and rest and be ready to hit the ground running.
Thank you so much, Chris. Brelio, over to you.
Yeah. So I think the first thing would be to be open-minded and explore concepts and ideas. So it is an opportunity to think how some specific functionality will work, and also how the flow of funds would look like in this new feature or this new user experience. So that would be one, to be prepared to have an open conversation of what can this experience be like, and don't just stay fixed with what you already have in mind. That would be one. The other one would be practical, because to be honest, as Chris mentioned, it is super intense. It's a short period of time, so you just have 1 week to make all the improvements and deliverables, the deliverables that you need to present. So be practical, don't be too picky on details, but be focused on that the thing it's actually solving the problem that you are presenting. And the last one would be that it's not only about the tools and also the methodology, but also to leverage how you can learn from other people. So that's, I think, one of the greatest thing about participating and joining the bootcamp is to meet other people, like-minded people that are working toward similar goals, and learn from them, have some partnerships, and also, why not, some friendships that you can then like visit. But yes, I think these three things, like open-minded, be practical, and also learn from the other people also.
Thank you so much, Berlo. Thank you so much, Chris, for just being here, sharing your experience and sharing the knowledge that you've got, even just participating in the bootcamp. We really do appreciate you for your time. So yes, in the absence of, that's all the questions I had to ask you guys. So in the absence of any more questions, we'll just go right into continuing our presentation. So I'm just going to share the screen again, and then we would continue. But we're getting to this stage where you get to learn or know what to expect from the bootcamp. So just even hearing from Chris and Brolo, some of these things were the things that they mentioned. So for the bootcamp, you'll be sure to expect every day there's like a core design sprint activity, and I'll go over that shortly. But every day there's a core design sprint activity that you would have to, do. And each activity has a deliverable. But the important thing is you're not working on delivering those activities alone. You're going to be having a dedicated facilitator to, support you if you experience any roadblocks. And there would also be like workshops and office hours just to have the opportunity to meet, the stellar engineers, to have one-on-one conversations with mentors. And then the sweet spot as well with mentorship is that it doesn't end, after during the boot camp. Just by participating in the bootcamp, you get to be a part of the SCF wider community. So that even gives room to engage more with, other mentors or other founders that have gone ahead of you. But after the first 4 days of the bootcamp, which really is just around the different design sprint activities that I mentioned, we have the community demo day, where you get to actually share your demo video to the SCF community. And then from that activity, would eventually get to select the top 10 finalists who gets to present live at the investor demo day. And then after the top 10 finalists present at the Investor Demo Day, the top 3 participants would then be awarded prizes eventually. So the bootcamp schedule it's happening within just 5 days, from the 17th to 21st of April, as we said before. And each day has like a dedicated activity. For day 1, you would pretty much just be defining, the problems or the ideas that you want to work on, and then mapping out your customer journey. Day 2 focus on, the solution, and really just deciding which solution has the chance to succeed. And then day 3 goes into creating your storyboard and then prototyping your solution. And just like what Umbrella said, something that really, came off really strong as a strong point is that during the bootcamp, you don't want to, just go around trying to be extra picky. You just need to be focused. There are times we've seen past bootcamp participants who they really just want to get it right, that they have so much ideas that they want to work on, or so many features that they want to take into prototyping. But we usually advise that during the design sprint activities, you should try to be as much as innovative, but also try to be focused. As at day 3, you should be just all about prototyping that solution. So if you're not able to get through to day 1, which we've seen some participants struggle a bit, it might be difficult to then decide what to prototype on. So this is just something to put in mind, that as you're trying to send in your applications for the bootcamp, if you do get selected for the bootcamp, try as much as possible to commit each of these days with the different activities. So after prototyping, day 4, you get to meet or chat with real life customers. We have a user testing workshop that we usually, organize for day 4, where you get to learn the framework on how to reach out to customers, have them test your product, and also get feedback from them and implement those feedback. And then the final day, which is the 21st of April, day 5, you get to participate at the community demo day and get the chance to be one of the top 10 finalists that will present at the investor demo day in the coming week. So I'm going to run you through some of the design sprint activities. Remember, I had mentioned that in day 1, you would just be focusing on defining your problem. So what are some of these activities that helps in defining your problem? In our boot camps, we have the long-term, the metric, and then the sprint questions activity. For the long-term goal, is really just what is that optimistic view that you have for your product or solution. What do you think, if your solution does, it would be something that will make the world a better place? And there's this example from the past, a past bootcamp participant, Cash Abroad. You can see in their long-term goal, the optimistic view is that they want to be able to create a product that helps them move value across, Latin borders for businesses. They really just wanted to make the world borderless at maximum level. But the design sprint activity for day 1 doesn't end in just long-term goal. So after you've come up with that long-term goal, the optimistic view that you have, we usually advise that you place a metric to that goal. So while you're being optimistic, for Cash Abroad, for example, their metric was that they're hoping to reach 6 million businesses and hopefully help them move yearly, move $5 billion yearly. So after the long-term goal and the metrics and everything, the final activity still under that is the sprint questions. And the sprint questions are just really to get you thinking, what are those things that would prevent you from achieving those long-term goals? So you'd see as well on the screen, this particular team as well had, despite the fact that they had this long-term goal of making the world borderless, they had to ask some really deep questions. How can they ensure liquidity for high amounts on each country off-ramp? How do they introduce a no-bank solution to current users? How could they leverage Stellar? How can we get liquidity from banks? So these are just some of the sprint questions that they had to make them think of what could possibly go wrong if they are unable to make their long-term goals. And then these dots that you see on the sprint question, remember I said something about being focused and not being extra picky on the things that the activities that you eventually be doing. The dots that you see helps you to decide in all of these sprint questions that your team has been able to come with, which of these questions are you going to be focusing on? Which of these questions will you take, out of day one to say, okay, we're focusing on these questions and we're focusing on them because we feel like they're the top priority questions we'll be focusing on. And then after you've come up with your long-term goal, your metrics and your sprint questions, the second activity that you also get to do on day one is mapping. So mapping really just entails presenting a user flow of your product or your services. And usually we advise that teams have a 3 to 5 steps in their map. So it helps them to critically think in 3 to 5 steps, how can our users, what's the user's flow while they're trying to use our product. And this is an example of one of the past participants, BravePay. You can see that BravePay's user map was just, I think, just 3 steps before they got to the end step. So usually this is how the mapping exercise, is like. So you just pretty much just put together the 3 to 5 steps that helps you think through what the user flow of what the flow of your users will be like when they're using your product. But the good thing is the mapping as well doesn't end there. In the bootcamp, you get to also go deeper to asking questions, the how might we questions. So for BravePay, even after they had created, their user map, they had to ask some how might we questions, like how might we make sure that we apply the right fees per network. That's on the third step of their user flow journey. On the last step on that talks about confirming successful payment, how might we automate the management of multiple coins in exchanges to swap for USDC. So you see that this activity pretty much just helps you to think critically and to ask yourself those questions that you might have originally not asked yourself even while you're trying to come up with that idea or come up with that solution that you want to take off the market. So that's just to give you like an idea of some of the activities. You've heard from myself, you heard from Anka, you've heard from the speakers on some of the activities as well and what to expect from the bootcamp. So I'll just also be talking about some of the additional perks and benefits of participating. I mentioned already the top 10 finalists get to meet potential investors at Investor Demo Day. But this year we are introducing the SCF founder stories. Chris said something that even after the bootcamp, they also had the opportunity to get like a marketing grant. And that's because when you participate in the bootcamp, you get to be a part of the wider SCF community. So but just being part of the community helps to see future opportunities that you can eventually lean on from the SCF awards. The other additional perks is you get to receive exclusive support from the members of Stellar Development Foundation, DFS Labs, Stellar itself, and the Soroban ecosystem. And of course, if you get to be part of the top 3 finalists that get selected at Investor Demo Day, you get to go home with top prizes worth $15,000 worth of XLM. So yes, more success stories. We decided to include this slide in this presentation because we wanted to make you guys see what's possible, because there are teams that have gone ahead of you or come before you and participated through the bootcamp and also had the opportunity to get awards from the SCF awards or get grants from the marketing grants. And I'm just going to touch on some of these companies. Funbuck, which you already heard from Chris, when Funbuck participated in the bootcamp, aside their participation, they also got the opportunity to receive a marketing grant from Stellar Development Foundation. Stacks, on the other hand, when they participated in the bootcamp, they had the initial award of $15,000 worth of XLM, but then they also got to receive $500,000 worth of XLM from the Stellar Matching Fund. And then Wirecash, which was part of the teams that participated in the last bootcamp, they got from the SCF awards, they got 100,000 worth of XLM to scale their product. And as well, at Chain.ai, the team got 195,000 worth of XLM through the SCF awards. So this just to say again that by participating in the bootcamp, even if you don't get selected, for either the top 10 finalists or getting to pitch, just being a participant sets you in motion to exploring other opportunities that you can get from the wider SCF community. So this is where I get to stop talking and actually give you guys the opportunity to ask questions. If you have any, you could either raise up your digital hands and then unmute yourself, and we can respond to your questions.
Don't be shy.
Yeah, I'm just going through the chat box as well to see if there are any questions.
I don't think so. Yeah, but
Okay.
we do now. Yeah, go ahead, Gift.
There's one from Benjamin. In the bootcamp, do your developers build the code or just the stories? Okay. So I'm trying to really understand the question, but I guess what you're trying to say is if the team would have the opportunity to actually prototype a product, right?
Yeah. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay, great. Yeah. So the question is really around, I see that you're, wireframing and going through scrums and things like that, but do you need your technical people to actually build out the application or at least the framework during the boot camp, or is it really more, specification?
Yes, actually, on day 3, we have the prototyping activity where part of the things that your team is expected to do is to build that technical wireframe. And when during the application process, one of the requirements actually is that your team should have at least an engineer who is able to take on, that role of, just technically thinking through what your user story for your prototyping would look like. So yes, definitely, that's like a really core requirement in participating in the bootcamp.
Yeah, and to kind of add on to, yeah, I mean, to add on to Gift, it depends also a bit on kind of like what you're trying to build and what kind of knowledge you come into with the bootcamp. So let's say like if you come in like we do actually like really encourage people to look into Stellar and to have their developers start experimenting with things like initiatives like Stellar Quest, or at least like looking at the code, like understanding how it works, because the more you understand it, especially to echo what Chris said at the beginning, the more prep work you have done, the more you can accomplish in the actual bootcamp. So the bootcamp doesn't teach you how to use Stellar. It's not like okay, let's go to day 1, like this is Stellar. It's really meant to like kind of build your use case around Stellar in that sense. So it's like so let's say like if your team is fairly like new with Stellar, you can build a really good, I think like I would be confident to say like you could build a really good wireframe. Let's say if your team already knows how to build on Stellar, and we have had teams that were further along, and they actually they will stay up all night, they will build their demo, and it will actually work and with the Stellar network. But that is definitely like one of the I mean, the what we wish that people could come up with, but especially like even having a really solid like wireframe, or like if you come out with the bootcamp with a solid like foundational plan that you can kind of kickstart, you have answered the foundational questions, like you have had help to prove your use case. I mean, that is a really great a great place to be after the bootcamp too. Yeah, because like you cannot like perform magic in 5 days, but definitely you can get pretty far. We've seen some really amazing teams like actually built, yeah, like an MVP of what their product is today. Yeah.
All right, thanks, guys.
You're welcome. Any other question? I see the chat has really been, bubbling. Is there any other person that has any other question?
Yeah, and to kind of in the
Mhm.
meantime, definitely adding on to Matthias, that is correct. So Stellar, yeah, we don't like using Stellar Classic too much because it's not like Ethereum Classic, but it's kind of like the original Stellar network has been around for many years, and so all the resources are there. It's live. Soroban, if you're interested in using smart contract functionality on Stellar called Soroban, that is currently in preview release, so you cannot like right off the bat build a live product, but you can definitely build a good wireframe and really look into the tech and build and really start to build some of the core components of the actual. So I think like in 5 days, I think you have plenty to work with for Soroban. Vanilla Stellar, yeah. Yeah, it's a little bit weird. We're actually trying to like explain it a bit better internally, but yeah. Gif, was there any other questions?
No other question here.
Can you guys, sorry, could you give us just a brief overview of Soroban? Or is that outside the scope of this?
Yeah, I mean, basically, like I can tell you where to go to, because it indeed is a little bit outside of the scope. But basically, Soroban is so Stellar Network. It's an open source network. Is really focused on payments, asset issuance, remittances. Soroban, so it was never Turing complete. Since late last year, we have launched the Soroban, which is our new native smart contracts platform. It's on Stellar. Currently, it's in preview release, which means that it's not live yet, and there's some things that might still change, but it basically gives a greenfield opportunity for innovation on Stellar. And it's a really exciting opportunity. That's also why we have like quarterly SCF bootcamps. That's why we have a lot of SCF Stellar Community Fund grants coming out right now. And if you want to kind of learn more about how it works, why it's different, I would definitely go to, here, Timothy had actually like answered the Stellar Developers Discord. It's a great place to go. There is the soroban.stellar.org where all our documentation is. So I'd take a look there. We have also posted several blogs on our page that I'll link to here shortly that can be really great to kind of look at and kind of like learn more about what Soroban is and what it can offer. But basically it's smart contract functionality. So if you're familiar with that, that's basically it's on Stellar. It's non-EVM compatible, so it's actually like compiled in a WASM virtual machine. The contracts are written in Rust, really to optimize for efficiency and speed. So that and for the rest, all of the details can be found on that link. So that's a high-level overview.
Thank you.
Thanks, Anka. Someone had asked the question around where do we get resources to start building a team? So ideally, it's expected that you've been able to like build your team even while you're trying to apply for the bootcamp. But I guess if you get to be a part of the SCF community, the Discord that Anka has shared, you might be lucky to be able to galvanize your own team from the existing community that Stellar has been able to put together. That's just to say, in simple terms, we do not provide you resources to build your team. What we help is to, put together the activities that will help your team take your idea to MVP. So I'll just advise that you try to build your team even while you're trying to send in your applications, or join the SCF Discord community and try to ask around for who is willing to join you, to team up, to, be a part of the startup bootcamp. I hope that answers your question though.
Yeah, I'm pasting the link here too, again, that Timothy put in here. Like we have some very awesome verified members here of the Stellar Community Fund here that help out. Thank you so much for being here. Yes, the Stellar Development Discord is a place to be. And yeah, to echo Quest, if you are, if you're having a developer team, like the best way to kind of get used to like Stellar and Sorbonne is Stellar Quest. It's a gamified way to learn Stellar and Sorbonne. And I think Braulio put actually a link in here, because it's like, yeah, you can go through all the documentation all at once. Might not be, and Stellar Quest kind of offers a practical way to learn. And yeah, to iterate, the official SDK is Rust. In the future, there could be more languages to build on Sorbonne, but right now it's yeah, it's Rust. Awesome.
Great. So what are the next steps after this info session? We highly recommend actually that you read more about the Stellar Community Fund and the blogs that are made available on Stellar to also just learn more about Sorbonne, Stellar network itself, and even just the wider vision, you know, of the fund. And then of course, to send in your applications before March 28th, if you're looking at participating in the first batch that's happening from April 17th to 21st. And of course, if you do get selected, we recommend that you plan to give it your very best. So that's where we call it a day. We are on socials. Feel free to follow us to get more updates. And for everyone who joined the info session, definitely you would get the link to the recording. It will be up on the website, and then we'll share the link just so you can share with your team members. I had some of you reaching out that some of your team members were unable to join, so they can eventually watch the recording and then get the insights just before the application deadline. Okay. I think that's it. Thank you so much, Chris, as well, for sharing your details for anyone who would like to reach out to you. Umbrello, feel free to do same. We really do recommend that for upcoming teams, they can, if they want to reach out just to learn more and see what are the areas of collaboration that could potentially exist. Other than that, Anka, I don't know if you have any last words to share before we call it a day.
Yeah, not really. Like, thank you so much, everyone, for joining, for your insightful questions. And thank you so much, Gift, for walking us through these. Actually, like, this is the third info session, which is it's been a lot of work on your end. So thank you so much for hosting these and for providing such valuable information. And we have one more to go, which is our female and non-binary founders info session. So for women and anyone really here joining, a happy International Women's Day. And we will be having a special session again on March 10th, which is this Friday at 11 a.m. Eastern time. So yeah, if you know any women in the space, definitely share with folks, because this is like our very special session to celebrate women and non-binary founders. All right, well, thank you so much for joining, and yeah, reach out to us if you have any questions.